What would you do if your teen goes missing? Our topic of discussion today is missing teens and what we can do as parents and the conversations we need to start to have with our teenagers. Joining us in this conversation today is Mariana from Missing Child Kenya. Mariana Munyendo, welcome so much. We are glad to have you again.
Thank you.
And as we start off our conversation, our previous discussion was about missing children, and it was a bit general. And in that case, you can think about younger children. But in this scenario, you have a teenager, a grown-up, almost a grown-up adult. And you start to wonder, how does a teen go missing and why? So how about we start from, what's the state of affairs on missing teens in our country here in Kenya?
A teenager is at a very unique place. They are trying to navigate as an adult because they want to be seen as an adult, but they are also living the residues of childhood. So it is a very conflicting time psychologically. And if you try to look at some of the things that they battle with, it's because they're at a crossroad. So there's so much going on. There's change physically, mentally, a lot of things. And emotionally,
the hormones.
Certain stages in life.
Absolutely.
They have moved, and there are also transition markers. Probably they have moved from this school to this school, you know. So there's quite a lot in their life. And in terms of navigating risk, if you talk about a child who is 5 years old versus a 13-year-old. A 13-year-old is also at the age of discretion, where they are more aware of some of their actions and consequences, but they've just not quite internalized the implications of the actions and consequences.
Even the dangers.
Yes, but probably they've just not totally, because their mind is still at a point where it is trying to internalize quite a lot and develop into the adult that they are going to be. And so what I would look at the situation, I would say, not just in Kenya. The situation is not unique to Kenya.
Absolutely.
It is unique, it is prevalent globally. What has been seen in terms of when teenagers go missing, there's a high likelihood that a good portion, above 70%, is a runaway teenager, as opposed to someone who has just gone missing for the different other circumstances. And this now is closely related now to their psychosocial well-being. What is going on in that child's life, that at that point they have made this decision that I want to be away from home for one reason or the other.
Stop right there. So what you're saying is, by the time, most of the time, 70% of the time, by the time a teenager is missing, they have intentionally ran away from home.
Yes, probably not running away, or maybe it's the thought of, even if it's not running away, they have intentionally left home. That if at all I've made a choice that I'm either running away or I'm going to be with so and so, I have intentionally left home.
Do you think sometimes, Mariana, that teenagers are trying to put a point across or tell us something, but they don't know how to tell us as parents?
Adolescence is a time of testing authority as well, and we don't understand each other. I don't know how you are.
I can tell you how I was. I have a case of me going missing.
What did you do?
Why do you think it's something that I did? But this is what happened. I don't remember exactly why we were fighting, but I must have said something and my mother said something, or being the African mother that she is, maybe she was about to spank me, and this time I said, I can't remember what exactly happened, but what I remember is running away from home, and I didn't even go far. Behind our house, there was a construction going on, and then I said, you know what, I'm going to go sit inside there until morning. I'm going to cry and cry and cry and see how these people are going to miss me and look for me, you know, just to make a point, because I was upset. Mariana, I can tell you, it was so cold in that building. A few hours later, humbly I went back home and knocked the door, and of course they were happy to see me. But in some cases, some kids just run away.
Yes, the differences, the reasons are varied, because there could be some emotional turmoil the child is going through with their peers.
Yeah.
Another thing, they could be facing some problems at home. The situation at home might be a bit rough, and they will feel probably if I step out of this situation, things will be better. There could be, by rough I mean probably the situation, not, and by another example, they could also be facing abuse in the home. It's hard to accept, but also some of our teenagers are truants. They could have done something wrong, and if confronted, they will
just run away.
Yeah. The other thing is there could be so much pressures around maybe exams or something that would make them want to get away from the pressure.
Just want to get away.
Yes, there could be peer influence around substance abuse or something that is considered fun to do.
Yeah.
And then, you know, in that psychological state of a teenager, they romanticize that life outside of the home will be
better than home. It's always better out there. Yeah.
But then, like they say, like you said, you were cold, and so you came back home. But that's not the case in all these situations. Sometimes now, when they leave, they might come back home based on the reason that they left. And if there are external factors, those can bring a difficulty in the children returning home. And so probably next week we'll just talk about the risks that they face when they're out there.
What kind of risks? I hope even our teenagers will be tuning in to hear your expertise. What are the risks that are out there that teenagers will face when they run away from home?
Number one, because of the safety of the outside world, and if someone sees that you're in a position of desperateness or despair, they will take advantage.
Absolutely.
Of you. A lot of teenagers have engaged in sexual behavior because of trying to survive out there. They have been abused by people because they are helpless and no one is willing to help them. The second thing is, again, they have had to engage in risky behaviors for survival.
Yeah.
For instance, give me this and I will give you security. I'll give you food, or I'll give you what you want.
Yeah.
The other thing is they may encounter other people who are engaging in riskier behaviors that they never engaged in before. And so they will start being part of that. Your mindset when you're out there is not also very 100% healthy, and so there's also an increased risk of mental issues once you probably have been separated from your family and are trying to get back. The other thing is, aside from the mental issues, if you think around health, if you would have slept out for 2-3 days, it's not something good.
No.
You probably get something, a chest infection. The conditions that they're sleeping in or they're staying in out there, if not confirmed, then they could be facing all those risks. So that's one of the things that people might think, that sometimes people see when we have put out an alert of a missing 17-year-old girl or boy, and they troll it. They comment and they say, that is a big woman, let her get married, or that is a man. In this world, mwanaume ni kujikaza. But they don't understand the psychological well-being of this person who is still considered a child moving towards adulthood.
Very well put. In the home space, what can we begin to do if there's any way we can begin to maybe have conversations or do something as parents to prevent our teens from going missing? What can we do?
There's no magic bullet.
I wish there was even a pill we could take, you know, that just an excellent parent and your children are perfect. It will never be like that.
It's not a processing line. But dialogue, continued dialogue is important. Not to say that we never talk to our children. Maybe we do, but we have probably just not been listening keenly.
I like that. So starting to listen, because I think one of the top things that teenagers say is we don't listen to them.
You don't understand, because who was the best musician in your time?
Hey, who was the best musician in my time? Hey,
we are not revealing your
No. Koffi Olomide.
Yes.
And listening to those days of KBC and Kina Jeff Mwangemi, it was, you know, your R&Bs and, you know, nice, soft music. But now, like now when my son is playing his games and he tells me this guy is called Da Baby. First of all, in my brain, I'm thinking, what would anybody call himself Da Baby? But then I have to come to his level so we can then engage, and going forward, we can continue to connect.
Yes, because now when we get into a bubble, we leave our teenagers into a bubble, then we don't understand their world.
Yeah.
Yes, let us try to understand their world.
Yeah.
so that when somebody is talking about their baby, you're also able
I know
to
who that baby is.
yes,
and
you try
engage,
to catch
connect.
up.
Yeah.
Of course, being a teenager, they'll feel, Mom, you're too much. But at least be at the point where at least you know what's happening in their baby's world. It would help for softer conversations,
I
because
like that.
it is very
like that.
difficult to just call a teenager and tell them, sit down, let us talk about your life and sexuality. It is what we used to call msomo.
Oh yeah, we
You
used
remember?
to call it Quran.
Yes,
In another-
because your parents
Yeah,
is going to
here we
read
go
from-
again.
Yes.
And it's never ending.
Yes, and so in your head as a teenager, you will have rolled your eyes and not listened,
Yep.
and a lot of kind of things. Let us try and find alternative ways that we can also engage and insert some of these conversations
I like
with our
that.
children. The other thing I will still stress, technology and the children and parenting, the online space is very, very important for us to familiarize ourselves with, and be able to just keep a frame of mind that technology is good, it's fantastic,
Yeah.
but it can also be one of the ways that our children can end up being vulnerable.
Yeah.
So it's important to also have a good in-depth understanding of what is happening in what they're using for their devices and whatnot.
On that note, our final conversation will be on, do you think as parents we need to put some sort of control on our teenagers' devices? It's hard. I mean, their phones are their phones. But is there anything we can do to put controls for our older children, our teens?
Controls are important when you start the conversation as to why I am putting this control on your device.
Right.
Involve this child in the conversation.
I like that.
Don't, you know, in our time, control was around your diary because you didn't have any other important things. So where you had written things in your diary, you would try and hide it, but your parent would still find it
Somehow.
and read and say, who is this boy that you love and your heart is beating for?
And there goes trust broken.
Yes.
Yep.
So you don't want to break that trust. Start having that conversation with them right from the start, so that they will know when they have a problem, they can talk to you.
Yeah.
Be open. And when an incident like that happens, let me just give now on the flip side. If a child has gone away and they've come back,
Yeah.
number one, pause. Put a pause button. That's not the time to start discussing and saying you did this, you did that. Put a pause button for as long as you need to, so that when you're talking, you are in the right frame of mind.
You are calm.
You're calmer. Even the child is calmer. Number two, now be open. Create an opportunity where you can be able to talk. I worked in a fantastic institution where we had what we call open parliament baraza. We had the Vegas thing. What happens in Vegas stays
in Vegas.
The children that I worked with were allowed to question us as teachers. You are not teacher so and so, you punished me wrongly, let me explain myself.
Yeah.
And if I was wrong, I would say, I am sorry, Christine, and then it ends there. So let us try creating these safe spaces for our children. Number three, let us network. Know more about your children, their friends, your neighbors. These days we've become so narrow-minded.
Yeah.
I
Busy
get
with
into-
whatever
yes,
we're busy
I
with.
leave, I get into the parking lot,
Yeah.
or I walk to the matatu stage, I put earphones, I don't talk to people, I go to work, I come back. So you're not understanding the people around your child, because sometimes whether the reason that they are not at home is dangerous to them or maybe their own doing,
Yeah.
you will quickly find information from their peers. So invest in that network.
Thank you, Mariana.
Invest. And finally, seek help. We are not perfect. We are not super parents. We are not superhumans where you will say, I can do this. If there's a need to see a counselor, if there's a need to involve somebody else, somebody that the child trusts, don't force it. Seek for help.
Mariana, I thank you so much for joining us in this important conversation. I know for the parents who are watching, we have left more empowered, and your expertise is much needed. So be blessed for what you're doing and keep at it. And before I let you go, what is your parting shot? 1 or 2, 3 parting shots, a kind reminder to our parents with teenagers, a word of hope perhaps.
For me, I would say a teenager who runs away or goes missing from home is not a bad child. A parent of such a child is also not a bad parent. Using the word bad to describe this very difficult relationship between a parent and a child at this particular stage of life is very heavy, both on the child and on the parent. So it's important we understand that there are many other surrounding circumstances that we need to sort or deal with so that we understand why this child went missing. Finally, it's important to get in tune with technology. A lot of our children who are teenagers, when they go missing, it's very easy to track their footprint, because you'll be able to see they are on this social media platform and they are friends with this person. So parents also accelerate and be on the online space and understand what works, so that if at all at one time they go missing, some of the things that you may be asked is what are their social media handles. If you give that, it can also quickly help get their network. But above all, continue to engage, because our children are amazing children and they just need a guiding hand here and there to get them back on the right path.
Wow. Wow, that's a powerful way to end it. Continue to engage.
Continue.
Thank you so much, Mariana.
You're welcome.
And keep up the good work.
Thank you.
And on that note, we come to the end of today's conversation. We were talking about missing teens. I will leave you with only two things. Let us continue engaging our teens, and most importantly, listening to them rather than talk at them. See you in the next conversation. Thank you once again for joining in this important conversation.